So last week we talked about When a Stranger Calls. This week we will discuss the far superior sequel, When a Stranger Calls Back, which came out in 1993, once again written and directed by Fred Walton. A retired detective and a crisis center counselor hunt a killer stalking a co-ed. The killer's next intended victim is a young babysitter alone in the house with two sleeping children. We got returning cast members Carol Kane and Charles Durning from part 1, and now we have Jill Schoelen from Popcorn, The Stepfather, and Cutting Class. Now, what I like about this movie is the opening is once again fantastic, just like the first one. It's similar, it's like they're recreating the original about 10, 15 years later, but they're changing it up just a little bit. It's similar, but not too similar to where it's like derivative, like the same thing beat for beat. And the music, just like part 1, is also very good. It's very suspenseful, hair-raising, and just really effective. And I love how Fred Walton shoots this movie with lots of far-away shots, making it seem like possibly you're looking through the POV of the killer, leaving lots of space in the frame around the protagonist, where your eyes are wandering, like, where's the killer gonna come from? Is he over there? Like, I just like how the movie was shot. I like that Jill comes back from part 1, and that now she's helping this girl, and she teaches self-defense classes. So they're setting up possibly a fight later on where she's going to kick some ass. And I like how psychological this movie gets. It's not a slasher movie. It's not a character study like the first one was trying to be in the middle, where it just focuses on the killer wandering around town. In this one, the killer is more of a mystery. We don't really know too much about him, but we don't need to. We don't really need to. And he just fucks with these people and just psychologically torments them, moves things around, lets them know that he's been in their place. And I like the little twists with the new stranger in this movie. I won't say exactly what it is, what this stranger's talent is, but I like what they did there. It just made some scenes extra creepy when he was utilizing this talent. And the reason why I'm not saying it, I'm being trying to be vague what this guy can do, because it's kind of like a reveal in the middle, towards the end, what this person can do and how they're able to do certain things in the beginning. So I like what they did there. I thought that was a neat little twist. And again, just like the first movie, this one has a good finale, a good climax with Jill, with the killer, the stranger. And there's a good scene where she's walking around the dark with a gun she can't see, and the killer's camouflaged, blending into his surroundings. And it's in the trailer, I think, and it's just a really creepy, effective scene. And I also liked Julia's character. I just thought she was sympathetic. I really liked her. She gives a good performance, and she looks like, I kept thinking it was distracting, like her hairdo in the second act, because it flashes forward. So she has really short hair in the beginning, but then it flashes forward and she has a whole different haircut, which looks awful if you ask me. But she looks like she could be like Scott Grimes' twin sister in Critters 2. As for my dislikes, I thought that the movie kind of slowed down a little bit in the middle, just like the first one. So this movie has a lot of the same good things and bad things going for it that the first one had, but the middle is not as bad as the middle in part 1. This one, it's just slowed down here and there in the second act, and I wish that Jill would have did more against the killer towards the end. I thought they were setting something up, they show that she is teaching self-defense and that she can kick ass, but when they get in a scuffle, it's over very quickly. And so I just thought that was a missed opportunity to showcase a pretty badass fight between them. So final thoughts, I think this is a far superior sequel. It's underrated, doesn't get talked about a lot. When you talk about sequels that outdo the original, this one hardly gets brought up. It's way better than the original, if you ask me. And it recreates some elements of the original, but it goes in a more psychological direction. It's more eerie, it's more effective, and it's what part 1 should have been. So when it comes to When a Stranger Calls Back, I give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, time for a spoiler discussion. This probably won't be that long, it's not too much to spoil. So there's the voice at the door, but then we find out that the guy is a ventriloquist, so he can throw his voice, and he was never outside the door. He was just in her living room hiding the whole time, I guess. But he was also making sound effects too. Like, he was making it sound like he was outside the door walking, but he was never really there. So he can make sounds and make that sound like it's in the other side of the room. So this guy is pretty talented. And this opening wouldn't work if that door had a peephole, like that thing you look through on the door. It didn't have one. If it did, she would have looked through it and saw that there was no one there. You guys probably won't know who I'm talking about, but Julia, she kind of sounded like Max Caulfield a little bit from Life is Strange, one of my favorite video games. It's not horror at all, but when I heard it, it made me smile because I love that video game so much. I was like, oh my gosh, she kind of sounds like Max Caulfield. So in the first one, the kids are mutilated, but in this one, it's even worse. The kids are missing and they're never found. I don't think they ever get found in this movie, which to me is worse than having your kids killed. Because when your kids are missing, you're just stuck wondering every day where they are and if they'll ever come back, if they're dead or not. So that weighs on your mind a lot. That keeps you up at night. So then it's like 5 years later, and now I guess he finally tracked her down, and he's been moving things in her apartment, letting her know that he's been in there, and he puts one of the missing kids' clothes in her closet. And so she goes to Jill from part 1 for help. And she goes and gets her a gun, but then this kind of backfires. Literally, it fires and like she gets shot by the killer. So I guess it wasn't a good thing to do. Maybe not leave the gun on your desk the way she did, just out in the open. Like, keep it in your hand at all times. She just like left it on her desk with like a lamp shining down on it. Like, here's my gun, just come in, take it. So maybe she should have kept that like under her pillow, not out in the open, so that the killer could grab it when she's sleeping like that. So it's her fault. Oh my gosh, that scene when she's in the coma from the gunshot, and the killer is in the room, and he's just like beating on her stomach. He has like a weird like curiosity on his face, like the way he looks at her. It's almost like Michael Myers. Like, he tilts his head, like he's just staring at her, wondering like, is she faking it? Like, what is he thinking? He's like tapping her, and then he starts like beating on her stomach. It was a really creepy scene. Even though this is a TV movie, I guess they're allowed to show topless waitresses. That shocked me. Just a bunch of topless women walking around this bar, handing out drinks. And I was like, holy shit, this is a TV movie. What is this, HBO? Like, they can show tits? Not the TV movies I've been watching lately. So we find out that the killer is a ventriloquist. We see his act, and he gets thrown out. But first, he gets thrown into the women's changing room, and he tells him to clean a toilet. Did he really expect him to clean a toilet? It's weird. Like, he throws him in there, and he's like, all right, now you're a plumber. Fix the fucking toilet. And then he leaves. And then he comes back a minute later, and then he's like, get out of here. What are you still doing here? It's like, what? Like, just kick him out. Why you think he's going to fix the toilet before you fire him? Like, I don't get it. Then we get to the finale. Jill goes home, and she sees a milk carton with the 2 missing kids' pictures on it. I thought that was creepy. And, she had, like, an encounter with him at the grocery store earlier. He's throwing his voice, making it sound like he's right behind her. But he took a picture of her room, I guess, at some point, so that he could paint himself at his house to make him look like her wall. And he's just blending in. And then you just see his eyes open, and he attacks her. It's a quick struggle. He's like trying to gouge her eyes out, but then she just like throws him behind her, and then the detective comes in and shoots him, and then that's the end. So just like part 1, John, I think is his name, the private detective, saves the day 2 movies in a row. I think it should have been Jill who did most of the work there. It should have been Jill that kicked this guy's ass. That's what this movie should have had going on. Bigger fight there at the end. That's what this needed. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say. So I think this is way better than part 1. How about you? Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.